Hey, what's going on again, everybody? John here with Knight in Shining Armor Paint Correction, Ceramic Coatings, and Detailing. Today we have part 11 of the DIYTuber series. In this segment, in this video, we're going to cover questions that the hard questions you've always wanted to ask but were afraid to. And it doesn't matter if you're a detailer, a consumer, whatever the case might be, we're going to address all these questions. And the first one we're going to address is the elephant in the room. Are ceramic coatings worth all the hype, or are they just snake oil? And it doesn't matter what Facebook group we're in or what forum they're in, there is always some knucklehead or jackass or whatever you want to call them, or troll, that says coatings are snake oil. And in my experience, 95% of the time when you get somebody that says a coating has failed, that they're snake oil, they didn't last 3 months or whatever the case might be, that is probably most likely 95% of the time caused by either lack of preparation, not following the steps. As I tell everybody, I have a buddy of mine I used to work with 25 years ago that's a painter in a body shop, and he's going to retire here soon, and he wants to get in the coatings. And I told him that I know how by the book he is when it comes to spraying, that if you're going to apply a coating, the steps that you take are just that. You have to follow the steps. You start cutting corners and not doing steps, the coating's going to fail. The same is true in the preparation. You don't skip steps. You at least got to do, especially for a long-term coating, you got to do a polish, a decon, a clay, iron remover, all the things that you need to do to get the finish ready to polish. And then the other 5% of that or so, or maybe that's bad math, let's say 90% of the coatings that don't fail, 5% are due to lack of preparation, and the other 5% are due to coatings that are crap. You go onto eBay to buy some cheap Chinese coating that, A, you don't have any idea what's in it. You have, no reputation based on that coating whatsoever. If you get 3 months to a year out of it, well, you would be lucky. You see these 20H hardness rated coatings on Amazon and eBay. That is definitely snake oil. Coatings themselves are not snake oil, but the ludicrous claims of setting cars on fire and all that stuff, that's all a bunch of BS. Okay? That stuff's not real. Stuff's not real at all. And most of us detailers out there and coating installers know this, but the general public sees stuff that's great on Facebook and Instagram and social media and all the Insta faces of the world and TikTok. And oh my God, this stuff is bulletproof. No, it's really not. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Excuse my French. And another hard question is, most customers would be afraid to ask if their vehicle is a good candidate for a ceramic coating. And there are a bunch of different factors to this. If they enjoy waxing their vehicle, or they're not going to maintain it, it's just something that gets them to work. It doesn't matter if it's a $50,000 or $100,000 vehicle. It's just their means of transportation. They could give two craps about the shine on their vehicle or the protection, or on the flip side of that, maybe somebody enjoys waxing their vehicle. Now, there are waxes you can put on a coating that are synthetic, that are SiO2 based, and you can go down the whole rabbit hole. But the reason to put a coating on in the first place is to never have to wax your vehicle again. So it just comes down to the individual and their vehicle and their needs. That's why 3, 4, 5 videos ago, I put out this whole thing about questions we ask when it comes to installing a coating to find the best coating for every one of our customers. And I still believe that today. It comes down to, is their vehicle a good candidate on top of it? And we had one not too long ago. We had a 78 Vet that my old landlord, wanted all the bells and whistles done. And I started polishing on this thing, and it had been repainted with either enamel or lacquer. It was definitely single stage. It definitely wasn't base coat, clear coat, or urethane. It was too soft for that. And there was no way to get the deeper scratches out of this thing, and I flat out told her, I said, this is not going to be a good candidate for all this money that you're going to invest. So we coated her Mercedes instead. That got the C6 Diamond Lifetime coating. So we have been very open about that. You have to be honest. It's a hard question to answer or ask, or, maybe, one of you out there is wanting to get your vehicle done and you don't know if your vehicle is a good candidate or not. Well, here's the answer to that question. If you want to protect your vehicle and give it the utmost protection without putting PPF on it, yes, a coating is right for you. So if you'll excuse me here, I have to go to my cheat sheet here. Excuse me. Another hard question is, can a bad detail or ceramic coating damage my vehicle? Now, I'd have to say a bad detailer, absolutely. We as detailers in all the groups that I'm in, I always see someone that has destroyed usually a GM door panel with some sort of all-purpose cleaner that wasn't cut right, and they have burned or chemically etched the door panel, and they're going to be footing the bill having to replace it. And the same is true for the outside of the vehicle. If somebody doesn't know how to polish, they can burn through your clear coat or your single stage or whatever that case is. So yes, a bad detailer could damage your vehicle. On the flip side of that, can a coating damage your vehicle? Yes and no. There's a fine line here. Improper installation will cause a nightmare for removal, but in terms of actually damaging the vehicle, they would have to be throwing the coating on or spraying it on and not wiping off, doing something so asinine that they didn't have the slightest clue as to what they were doing. It's possible, and I'm sure it's happened, but in my experience, from the knowledge that I have, it would be very, very hard to damage a vehicle with a ceramic coating. Even with, I've seen it, just like I've said, I've seen it in groups on Facebook that someone has paid to get a coating done, someone installed the coating on, and never wiped off the transfer or the carrier solution. They just put it on the vehicle and let it cure. Common sense is not so common these days, folks. That's just the honest to God's truth. Do not be afraid to ask the hard questions. Another thing is here, oops, I lost my place. Another hard question to ask is your detailer insured? You better hope they're insured. That goes back to the last question we were just talking about. If they damage your vehicle by driving it or hitting something in the shop or something along those lines, if they don't have insurance, you're going to have a legal battle on your hands. I mean, you could have the legal battle to begin with, but you definitely want to make sure that your detailer is insured. That's just kind of a no-brainer. It's just a simple question. There should be no reason anybody should be afraid to ask that question. Are you insured? Of course. You'd be a real crappy business owner if you weren't insured. That protects yourself and it protects your customers. Now, hey, if you scratch a door and you can't wet sand and polish it out and it's got to go to the body shop where you burn through or whatever, of course, you're not going to turn that into your business insurance. But if somebody hits you and you're, picking up or delivering the vehicle, then by all means, you had better be insured if you're driving the customer's vehicle. Another hard question is, do you do all the work yourself? Do you outsource any of your work? And when we were located in Ohio, the only work that we really outsourced was the paintless dent repair. We had a freelance guy that did all the dealerships, all the car lots, and he worked for Dent Wizard, and it was a third party that way, but I had the same dent guy the whole 7 years I was in business in Ohio. We became friends on top of it because we had a lot of same interest in music and sports and the Browns and all that stuff. That's a whole video in itself, being a Browns fan. You don't even want to get me started on that one. But that should not be a hard. That's a hard question to ask. You know, someone you're going to do business with. And I've had people ask me. We had to sand and polish a semi. A guy had painted his cab on his semi, and it had a lot of orange peel in it. And I went to his place. He had a big, pole barn with heat. It was the middle of winter. And I flat sanded this thing. And on part of it, I actually reapplied clear coat because I knew we were just fighting a losing battle. And he asked me, he was like, "Are you going to come down and do the work yourself?" And I said, "Yes, I'm going to come down and do it myself." Something of that size and nature that requires the utmost experience and care. If you're the business owner and you have that type of ability and that type of experience, you should trust yourself to do that, unless you've had somebody working for you for years that has the experience that you do. And lastly, I was only going to do 5 questions, but I have a bonus question. Does a ceramic coating make my vehicle scratch proof? And I guess this is 2 questions. And now that my vehicle's coated, or if I get my vehicle coated, do I have to wash it? Well, of course you have to wash your vehicle. You're just going to wash it a hell of a lot less. That's one of the number 1 reasons to get a coating in the first place, is you want to wash your vehicle less. You want it to look cleaner, longer, and have the utmost protection. And then on the flip side of that, will a coating make my vehicle scratch proof? No, nothing will make your vehicle scratch proof, except for maybe PPF, and then even that has its limitations. But a coating will make your vehicle harder to scratch or swirl. That's a proven fact. That's just an absolute fact. If you have any doubts on what I'm saying, do a test yourself. Take a test vehicle, whether it's a rental vehicle or whatever it is that's a dark color, black, dark blue, maybe maroon, burgundy, something that you can see, and polish a couple panels and only coat half of them. And, let it cure for a couple days. Go drive through a tunnel wash. See how much that panel swirls and mars without a coating and with a coating. And you'll see that it's still most likely will get marred to a certain extent over time. But compared to the bare naked panel, it's night and day. So it will make it scratch less and harder to scratch, but it will not make your vehicle scratch proof per se. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this DIYTuber series. We're in competition with a bunch of other great channels. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these videos. And I'm amidst this giant move where we've come to Texas and we're still looking for a building, and we got it narrowed down to some candidates. And since we're on the story of that, a couple places that we found that were perfect, right on one of the main drags. For whatever reason, the one place was new. They wouldn't allow anything automotive related at all, not even if you installed truck bed covers. I mean, it is just what it is. And I understand they don't want to get a mechanic shop in there and get oil on the floor. I get certain aspects of that. And then the other place, why they wouldn't allow any more auto businesses, their policy had changed. So we got about 3 or 4 more locations we have reached out to. I will probably make a video on these 3-4 places of, how we're coming, what's going on, and that'll be coming out in the next couple weeks. I have to go back to Ohio next week and grab one last round of nonsense because it's been such a giant move. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these videos. Once again, my name is John. We are Knight in Shining Armor Paint Correction Ceramic Coatings and Detailing, now located in North Texas. Like I said before, I appreciate everybody watching our channel and subscribing. If you have any questions, please reach out to me personally at 945-249-5429. You can call or text that number, or please email me at john@KnightAutoPCD.com. We'll see everybody in the next video. Have a great weekend, everybody. See y'all soon.